All right, I'm going to see if I can share my screen because we're going to start today with a hands-on exercise, and I'm going to know because Santa Claus is going to tell me he's watching, right? I'm going to know whether you guys do it or not. So I want everybody that can hear me, even if this is the future and you're listening to it recorded, I want everybody that can hear me to do the same thing that I'm doing right now for this exercise, all right? And this is a really simple exercise. I guarantee that everybody can do it as long as you can open a browser window. So that's what I want you to do first. I want you to open a browser window. All right. Now I assume everybody kind of had a browser window handy, that everybody's already on their computer, and that everybody's got one. Now we're going to go to a web page here, right? So, and let me bring it back here. And the web page we're going to go to, I like Christmas, right? There you go, Santa. I like Issuetrak.com. Now, for those of you that may not remember, Issuetrak, no C, so it's ISSUETRAK.com. And our session today is going to be about the new capabilities, and it's going to be a deep dive into the Issue Hub, which is a new capability. We have completely expanded what we're doing there. So what I want everybody to do to kind of start out, and I want everybody to click on this yellow see what's new option. And if you get flipped over to the other story here, you can just flip back. There's a little button right there. You see, I clicked on it to get back to it. Click on that see what's new option. All right, now this ends the part where you guys have to do something, where my attendees have to do something. You guys can just follow along with me through the rest of it now, but I wanted to get everybody to this page. So you have the content here. Our marketing team and our tech team have worked together to develop this content and talk about what the new features are and how they work to a certain extent. And it's good content. I mean, this kind of introduces the new functionality to you. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use this new functionality, right? And you can see we can add custom tabs within the Issue Hub now. We can customize tabs that are already there, and we can make mass updates, right? These are the big things we can do. But I'm going to scroll clear to the bottom, right? And I'm just going to do it slowly so you guys can kind of get a taste of this content, right? I don't need to read it to you guys. I assume everybody that can hear me can read English, right? So you guys can read this and get this content later. But I want to get everybody down to the bottom of this page right here. And I want you guys to focus on this email address right here. So we're going to look at the sort of the expansion of the Issue Hub, but the Issue Hub is poised to expand more. And the real key thing here is what's highlighted right here, right in bold. We want to know your thoughts as you work with the Issue Hub. If I were on our dev team, I would be on my knees begging everybody that can hear me, please let us know how we did, right? Tell us what you want. And you'll do that just by sending an email to this email. Let us know. Just give us your opinion. I'd like to see this. I think it works great the way it is. Don't change a thing, whatever, right? We're asking for all feedback right here. All right, now, given that, now that I've shown you where to ask for more stuff, right? Let's get in and actually use this Issue Hub instead of talking around it. And I'm going to go back to our favorite sites, which is the CS training sites. And I'm going to log in as myself. You can see I'm Paul H in this site. And I'm a sysadmin, so I have a lot of things I can do. And I wanted to start with the sysadmin experience for this new Issue Hub page. And it kind of replaced the old My Issues page. If you remember, the My Issues page, collection of these tabs, right? And some of them were useful, some of them not. You know, some customers liked tasks, tabs, some of them liked other things, right? Just assignees. Some people, didn't like any of the tabs and found that it wasn't useful at all. So last version, 12.5, what we did, we added this Open Issues tab. And we added some filtering capabilities. So you could do things like sort, like you see this opened on is sorted by right here. And I could click the little funnel here and give a filtering command, right? To tell it to filter for submitting by user C, right? There you go. And then I know I've set that filter because you can see the little filter right there. I'm going to clear that one out, but you can see that. What we've added is we've added that ability to all of the other tabs. So all of the existing tabs, like as assignee or the unassigned tab, you can now sort and filter on all of the columns. And you can see that right here. Maybe I want the unassigned instead of filtered the way it is, I want it filtered the other way. Oops, I said the other way. There we go. Now I get the new ones at the top instead of the older ones at the top instead of the newer ones, to kind of emphasize that, hey, we have some new issues in here that need to be handled. The other thing that's nice, I'm going to get into the issue updates later, but the other thing we've done is we've added this ability to create custom tabs. Like this education tab, that's not one that used to be there, right? Didn't used to be there. So what's happened is, I think Mike created this one, I believe, and he went in and just clicked this little plus right here and added the columns that were important for that tab. And in this case, I'm going to do a delete here so we don't end up with an extra tab yet. And in this case, the columns he wanted were about the education issues in this site. And you can see, we just went over this, right? You can see that he's added the contact name, the contact phone, the contact email. So the new tabs can have user-defined fields in them. In fact, the new tabs can have a lot of different fields that we couldn't have on the My Issues page or in Open Issues. We couldn't have this stuff before. Now, the view of this could get, by adding tabs, you could add tabs to your heart's content. Everybody can see there's no restrictions on tabs. So you could add, once you add a tab, everybody can see it. However, the tabs are filtered by your visibility controls. So if you can't see the issues, just like Mike said, you're not allowed to see an issue, you're not going to see it on one of these tabs, even though you may see the tab. You just may have no issues on it, or fewer. But that's not a problem here. We're a sysadmin, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a use case here. I've got a guy that I want to help my preventive maintenance team. I want him to go through the preventive maintenance issues in the site, the recurring issues in the site. And I want him to help those guys clean up. Now, the guy I'm asking to do this, he's an end user. He's just going to add notes or maybe close. I gave him the permission to close issues. Maybe he'll go to a couple of these and close. I just want to know what's been done and what hasn't, because I've got a lot of extra open recurring preventive maintenance issues in this site. So I'm going to add a new tab just for that case, right? And once again, a little planning here goes a long way. I hate to sound like a broken record. We say this every time we talk about Issuetrak, right? Planning, thinking about what you want before you do it, right? Try it in a test site, right? This is really helpful things, right? So I'm going to go to recurring issues. And that's what I'm going to name the tab, so it tells me what the content of that is. And then I'm going to use our new column editor, right? Now, I had made a list. Let me pull up my list that reminds me about the tabs I wanted to add, the columns I wanted to add here. Because I thought about it and I made a list of them, right? The first one I want is submission method, right? Because that's one you don't see very often. And that's one we didn't used to have. Middle of this year, we added this feature, this field to Issuetrak called submission method. That shows how the issue was created. So I'm going to be able to filter that to get all of these recurring issues. And then the next thing I want last activity. And I'll show you something else we can't do couldn't do in 12.5. We can do a multiple select. I'm going to get issue type. I'm going to get opened. Subject. And I'm going to drag those over by themselves. So you see, I did a multi-select there. I held the control key and selected those 4 different fields. It's going to drop them in. I'm going to bring issue type last activity up, so that, because that's the goal of this, is to get this user C guide that's going to help my recurring maintenance team out. And then let's get assigned to and required by, some things like that, right? And notice, as I'm scrolling through here, you can see all of the user-defined fields we created in the site are available right here to add to these tabs. That's a huge deal, right? Because the data you see on the tab can now be, you can now display the fields where the data actually is, the data that you want to see, rather than what we think you should see. And required by. And I wanted a substatus as well. There we go. I think that gets fills the needs of our tab, right? So let me do a save. And notice that the goal here is to get only the recurring issues. And that's why we named the tab recurring issues. So we need to do a filter on this so that we show only the recurring issues, right? So let's do that. Now, because this is kind of an Excel style filter, I'm only going to type recur and it'll find all of the values, all of the issues that have that value. So I don't have to know how to spell recurring. Now, because I'm still in edit mode on this tab, I have just created what's called a base filter. And that base, so the idea is everybody else can get to this tab. They're going to be able to see the issues that they are allowed to see, but that base filter will stay with the tab. So everybody who views this will view that base filtered information also. And let's just do a save. Now, you guys don't have to take my word, right? This is a thing of beauty. Now I can have whoever go in here and help my recurring issues guys clean up their act, and you can see how many of them there are. But let's actually do this hands-on. Let's actually log in as somebody. So I'm going to pull up a second browser here, Firefox, and I'm going to go out to CS training. And I'm actually going to log in as somebody who can see some of those recurring issues anyway. Right here, this user A guy. And his homepage happens to be the issue hub also. A funny coincidence, right? And for him, he's going to use this recurring issues tab and go in. He can see all of these. And now he could check each one of them, or he could work on them sequentially, or maybe he wants to filter. Maybe I've asked him, maybe I've only given him the stuff from last month, and I've given somebody else the stuff from a month before that. But these are end users, so I can't assign the issue to them, right? I just want them to close or add notes, things like that. See if the work's actually been done. So let's do a filter, and this guy's going to get last month. Now, what I've just created is called a user filter, right? Notice everything was already filtered at the base level with our base filter. So this guy's only seeing recurring issues, but he created a user filter. When he navigates away from this page, that user filter will be lost. You'll have to recreate it every time he comes back. And that's the big difference here. User filters are for users, right? Viewing the information temporarily. And then you have to recreate them if you go navigate away from the page. Base filters are created when you create the tab by the administrator so that it stays with the tab. And this guy can come through here and do whatever he needs to. Now I'm going to navigate. See, I navigated away, so I'll have to recreate. But he can go to each of the issues in turn. And let's do that here. So let's recreate our tab here. And he could open those in new tabs to make it a little bit easier so he doesn't have to keep on coming back and recreating his user filter. And you can see he's got full permissions to do whatever he needs to do to these issues. All right, now what I wanted to do here, I'm going to skip back to are there any questions? Looks like we had can custom fields. If we have custom fields, can they be added? Well, you saw that in the tab that I created. Added a bunch. You saw all the custom fields were there. You certainly could have added them using multi-select, using any method to a new issue hub tab. And that's kind of the other thing I want to stress here. I'm going to get this out of the way. So you could add, easily a dozen, 20 tabs here, right? That view could get really cluttered really quickly, right? So what we really identified early on, we know we need a way to change the tabs that are visible, right? We need to turn the ones that you're not useful off. And notice I'm back in here as an administrator. We're back in, this is Edge Chromium. And I'm going to go to the system settings. This guy is the sysadmin, so we can go to system settings. And then we go to issue hub settings, where we can turn things on and off. And you can see that in this site, I've turned off a bunch of the tabs, right? Things like as task available, as task assignee. Today's reminders is turned off, right? Because we don't need those tabs in this site. By kind of analyzing what your needs are and thinking about it a little bit, you can turn off the tabs your users don't need, the stuff that they don't need to see or that is not useful to you. And I can demonstrate by turning on, let's turn on complaints here. And if we go back to the issue hub as administrator or end user, now you can see that hub is back. That tab is back, pardon me. Now, I've kind of danced around some of the functionality here, right? You saw me create a new tab. We saw that as an end user, right? End user could not create a new tab. The other thing I wanted to get into was the update issues, right? The new update ability. And this is really exciting, really interesting. So maybe I'm going to go through and update all of these recurring issues. And I want to close them, or I want to update the substatus so that they get a little higher, the priority. So they show as critical priority, then somebody will have to come and fix them, right? And that's by selecting the box here. Every time you select the box, and you saw it popped up when I did one, but I could do as many as I wanted to if I wanted to update all of these. It follows your user permissions. So whatever you're allowed to do to those issues, you're allowed to do, you will be able to do here, as long as it's part of the features. Now, this is where we need your feedback. I want to be very careful, artfully word this, right? This is where we really need your feedback. This is why I showed you guys the email address for feedback first, and hopefully everybody's still got that browser window open, right? So currently, the only fields we can update, the only things we can do, we can close issues, we can update the required by date, we can change the class or change the assigned to. Notice there's a lot of fields that aren't there that you probably would want to update. And that's what we need to know. What do our users want to update from the issue hub? That's what that feedback at issue hub feedback email address is all about. All right, so I want everybody to, as they get the issue hub and as you start using it, even now, if you think, well, I really wish that X was there, please take a second, shoot a quick email off to our team and let us know. Now, I think I've covered just about everything that we can do here. I wanted to make sure, let's see, demonstrate changing required by date. I made myself a note to kind of show that. So like, let's say if I wanted to update everything so that the required by date was tomorrow, because most of these issues were kind of behind on, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Right, tomorrow's the 11th. I'm going to update these 36 recurring issues so that the required by date is tomorrow instead of whatever it is now. Oh, and some issues failed to update. That's the other nice thing about this. If the field isn't there or if there's some problem updating the issue, the actual issue hub reminds you of that, warns you about that. Hey, these things did not happen. And it's because the required by date is not part of the custom screen. That's why it's blank for everything here, which is actually a pretty easy fix, right? We could go back here, edit the columns, and drop that one off. There we go. No more required by date.
Hey, Paul.
All right. The big thing to stress here is that email address, issue hub feedback at issuetrak.com. And I'm going to land back on that so that everybody can see it right here. All right. I think, is that enough, guys?
Hey, Paul, could you do one thing for me?
Sure.
Okay, go back to your training site, please. And I want you to connect the dots, because I really, we have a nice subset or a functional set of those tabs in the old My Issues, now the Issue Hub, the open issues, unassigned, assigned to me, all of those. But think about it using the open issues one. Well, if you're just working internal, your customers or your fellow coworkers, and you're all in the same org, you now have the ability to remove the column organization. So you're no longer wasting screen real estate. So those system tabs, you can add or remove fields to.
Right here. So if I wanted to remove organization, for example, right here. There we go. Organization gone.
This is one of those things, but like Mike was talking about earlier, we have so many different types of industries and different usages, and we're not a purpose-built application. That's why organization was there, because some outward-facing customers of our customers using it for customer support needed that information. Other customers don't. It's wasted screen. So now you have the ability, you can modify those out of the box ones that we provide, those tabs. Thanks.
True. Very true. Very true.
Paul, I think one thing we have to mention also is that tasking was not included in the customizations capability.
That's correct.
You do not have an issues task, essentially data column that you can use. It's related to issues only. So be careful if you happen to be removing some of the tabs for things like available tasks, task available or task assigned, because you will not be able to create a customized view of those. At least not at this point. That's where it comes back into requests.
That's right. That's why I wanted to stress the email address first and last in this. I want to kind of start on it and then end on it. All right. Any questions from the attendees?
No, we're good. I've been answering them offline, and as well as you've been covering the questions. So
good.
All right. Merry Christmas, everybody. I think, does that bring our webinar to a close, guys?
I think so.
I believe it does. I think we're good until next time we meet.
Which will be
February
2nd Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah. We may do a short webinar in January. I've got to look at the list, but I think there may be one scheduled for January as a short one. May only be about 30 to 45 minutes on that one. We talked about doing maybe a retrospective of last year.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, so we may be doing that in January. Won't be any features, won't be much of that. It's just kind of a retrospective of where we were and where we're going.
I stand corrected.
It's okay.
I thought we were taking a break too. All right, guys. Well, always a pleasure talking to everybody. And everybody have a good one. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Bye now.
Bye.